With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin. Town Council met last night. After a lengthy public comment and response session that lasted nearly an hour, Town Councilors finally got down to business. A pair of workshops were the focus of last night's meeting. First up, Finance Director Mark Milne gave an overview of changes to the Municipal Health Insurance Reform Bill.
Back in July of 2011, Governor Patrick signed a new Municipal Health Insurance Reform Law. This law allows for savings to local governments, greater flexibility for local governments to make decisions over their health care insurance, a meaningful role for labor in the process of doing so, and protection for health care quality. Under the law, changes to the plan design features such as co-pays, deductibles, and other cost-sharing features can be made. Changes to plan design features cannot be higher than those offered currently by the GIC's most subscribed plan. The contribution rates are still subject to collective bargaining, however. Up to 25% of the gross savings achieved as a result of implementing any changes under this law must be shared with subscribers who are disproportionately affected, including retirees, low-income subscribers, and those with high out-of-pocket costs. The law also provides for the option to join the GIC if it would result in 5% more savings than could be achieved through adjustments to our local plan design. So, for example, a financial example would be, let's say, for example, our budget, let's assume our health insurance budget for this year is $10 million. And in fiscal year 2013, with no plan design changes, we were to see a 10% increase in our premiums. Our insurance costs, gross insurance costs, then would go up $1 million. If the plan design changes that we implement result in no increases in our health insurance rates for fiscal year 2013, we would then avoid that $1 million cost increase. Under the law, 25% of that avoided cost increase would have to be set aside for mitigation for the subscribers that I mentioned previously in those three groups. And the other half, or $500,000 of that, would be avoided costs for the subscribers of the plan. The town would actually save $250,000 under those changes in that example. So that outlines the basic points of the law, and Deborah Blanchette, who's our representative for the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, will talk about what the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group has done thus far and what they plan on doing in regards to these changes.
Human Services Director Bill Cole then discussed how the town would be implementing those potential health insurance changes.
In the near future, we will be bringing before you proposed adoption of several sections of Chapter 32B, which covers health insurance for governmental entities. And these sections deal with the implementation of the Municipal Health Insurance Reform Law. Once you've adopted these sections, the clock begins to tick on a very specific timeline that must be followed. The first step would be for the town to notify its Insurance Advisory Committee, which is an existing committee dealing with employee benefits and insurance. We have to notify them of the sections have been adopted, the proposed changes to the health insurance plans, estimated savings, and the proposed mitigation, which is the 25% that Mark Milne had talked about. The town will then enter into discussion with the IAC concerning this proposal. No later than 10 days after the notification of the IAC, the town will submit a similar notice to the Public Employee Committee, PEC. You'll notice there's a lot of acronyms. This is a group that will be established consisting of a member from each bargaining unit of both municipal and school employees and a retiree of the town. The town and the PEC will enter negotiations only concerning the 25% mitigation proposal. They will not discuss any other issue concerning health insurance. If the town and the PEC cannot reach an agreement within a 30-day window, this issue is then referred to the state and to a review panel, which is comprised of a member of management, a member from the PEC, and a chair appointed by the Secretary of Administration and Finance. The review panel will determine if the Town of Barnstable's mitigation plan and plan design changes are within the guidelines established by the reform law. If it is determined by the panel that they do meet the guidelines, the proposal will be approved. Once it is approved by the review committee, it must be implemented. At that time, the town would provide notice to all of its employees concerning the proposed changes or the proposed transfer to the Group Insurance Commission.
Finance Director Mark Milne then came back in front of the council with some good news about state aid and enterprise accounts.
Been fortunate to receive restoration of a local aid cut in fiscal year 2012. The legislature, the state budget initially cut our unrestricted local aid category by statewide $65 million in 2012, which was about a $129,000 reduction in local aid for the town of Barnstable. If the state had budget reversions of $130 million or more in fiscal year 11, they promised to restore that cut. They did. They restored it. We received our payment October 31st, and that money has been deposited into our treasury and will close to our fund balance at the end of the fiscal year, or we can appropriate it for any specific purpose. But it's a one-time payment. It's not considered part of our base aid going forward, so we need to be careful about counting that again as coming to us next year. So we're thankful for that. Secondly, we just received our certification of all of our surplus funds for the general fund and the enterprise funds. I believe this, the Division of Local Services emailed this to the Town Council mailbox. Hopefully you've all gotten a copy of it. I'm pleased to report that the general fund surplus has grown from $10.7 million to $12.3 million. Over the past year. We closed out the fiscal year well. We returned over $2 million in unspent appropriations, as well as generated actual revenues in excess of budget estimates by over $2 million.
The yearly tax factor discussion is now underway. For the past 6 years, town councilors have opted for a residential exemption as opposed to a split tax, which taxes commercial and residential properties at different rates. Last night, Assessor Jeff Rudziak explained the options available to town councilors as they work to decide how the tax levy should be allocated this year.
So option one is going to be a split tax rate. This will only deal with moving dollars from the residential side to the commercial side, CIP I'll call it, and the shift between the value levels of the various classes now is residential is at 88.45%. and the commercial, industrial, personal is 11.55%. So the residential lost 0.1% against CIP gaining 0.1%. So the shift is a little bit back the other way. It was a close race because residential lost some value too, but the commercial is now starting to see the impact of the slower economy. The next option we're looking at is a residential exemption, which the town council has voted for 6 years in a row, and you're pretty familiar with this by now, and you know it's 20% of the total average residential property in town. So everybody gets the same amount, no matter what the value of their property is. It's got to be your principal residence. It only affects the residential class, and it does not change the total of the levy that the residential taxpayers have to pay in total.
A public hearing on the tax factor is scheduled for November 17th. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.